said this morning, so it's now their turn. So without further ado, I would first invite Ms. Judy Boer, who is the Director of Web Accessibility at the W3C Consortium, very famous one. It took me a year to invite her to come along, so it's so important. But she's going to speak just for 20 minutes. But there will be a Q&A session of the three speakers, so please hold your question back. Now, time for you, Judy.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here today with you and to have been participating in the World Blind Union Asia Pacific Region Assembly the past several days, and to be back with good friends and colleagues in Hong Kong. I greatly appreciate the Hong Kong Blind Union hosting me to come, and the Office of Government Chief Information Officer. And it's so exciting for me to hear about all the work that has already happened in Hong Kong to promote web accessibility and to implement web accessibility. I know there are many delegates from, I think, over 30 countries here over the past several days, and I invite people from all these different countries to look at what is possible to achieve on web accessibility using some of the freely available resources for web accessibility that have been developed collaboratively with work from people around the world. So this morning I wanted to talk briefly about some of the context of web accessibility and also some of the resources that are available for people to implement, including managers and developers. And so this will just be some brief information, but if you think about it, the web provides access to the world. It provides access to news and information, education, online learning, employment, civic participation, social networking, disaster preparedness, healthcare, and commerce, and many different things that are needed in carrying out different parts of life, entertainment and games as well. The World Health Organization in June 2011 released a report saying that there are 1 billion people in the world living with a significant disability. That's 1 out of every 7 people who are affected in some way by disability. And if you think about it from a business perspective, that's a very large market that you don't want to miss out on. If you think about it from a civil rights perspective, that's a lot of people, and none of us want to miss out on what is on the web. So it's critical that the web be accessible. When we talk about web accessibility, it crosses many different functional areas. It includes vision, it includes hearing, motor, speech, cognitive, neurological. It includes multiple disabilities and also aging-related conditions. So this can affect many different ways that people interact with information and communications technologies. The UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities is a landmark treaty internationally, and it has 2 articles that touch specifically on information technology accessibility. These include Article 9, which, among other things, covers to enable persons with disabilities to live independently and to participate fully in all aspects of life, including information and communications. And Article 21, which includes, among other provisions, the right to freedom of expression and opinion on an equal basis with others, including information in accessible formats and technologies. And so I invite all of you who are here from different countries to consider web accessibility, adoption of web accessibility standards and implementation of the materials available for developers as one of the ways to help fulfill the commitments made under this very important treaty. And there are so many changes happening in web technologies that you may also find that making the web accessible will help make many other technologies accessible as well. Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, was at the 2012 Summer Olympic Games opening ceremony, and he tweeted out from the center of the stadium, "This is for everyone," referring to the web. And this tweet bounced around the world quite a few times because it really inspired people. The web was intended to be something for everyone. And at the World Wide Web Consortium, we have the opportunity to work together with people from around the world to try to make this real. And so the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C for short, develops web standards and includes, among other things, work on Web for All. And in the, as President Zheng Chuanyao was saying, we have just celebrated the 20th anniversary of W3C, and actually the 25th anniversary of the web, just a few weeks ago in Santa Clara and California. So W3C is an international, vendor-neutral community that encompasses an expanding range of technologies, and it's hosted by MIT in North America, European Research Consortium on Informatics and Mathematics in France, Keio University in Japan, and Beihang University in China. We have also another 18 to 20 offices in different parts of the world, so we may have an office close to you, but you can find us on the web. And I'm sorry, there's a flash coming from the back of the room. If it's possible to please not use camera flash, I very much appreciate it. Thank you. So one of the things that W3C has just released also at this ceremony is HTML 5.0, which is an important advancement in web technology, and it is the centerpiece of the Open Web Platform. The Open Web Platform is a collection of standards which provides an interactive and intelligent platform for all technologies that are converging onto the web. So for instance, it enables mobile and TV and video, publishing, Web of Things, automotive. The web is going onto your cars, you know, for navigation, for passenger side entertainment, commerce, data integration, software distribution, and more. And it also provides integrated accessibility support for many kinds of web-enabled devices. The Open Web Platform supports many new industries coming onto the web. So for instance, this provides the core for support for publishing, for digital entertainment, for mobile, for healthcare, and so forth. And we're able to use the same set of accessibility principles to examine some of the potential barriers and potential opportunities for accessibility across all of these technologies. But at the same time, each new technology requires vigilance. It requires looking at what the challenges and opportunities may be, what the needs are for new use cases and user requirements, so that the developers and the engineers can understand what are the user needs in interacting with an ebook? What are the user needs in using television once it's on the web? What are the specific requirements for how accessibility works in those situations? And so because of that, because there are these very specific user interactions with each of these new technologies that land on the web, therefore it's very important for people with disabilities to be part of that process of identifying what the user scenarios are, what the specific requirements are for each of these technologies. And that means that it's very important for people with disabilities to have access to science and engineering education and to be able to work in these fields along with developers who are already there but may not have had the experience of learning about accessibility when they were studying software development. So the feeling of working on these is like trying to outrun a speeding train because the technologies are moving so rapidly. So the Web Accessibility Initiative, or WAVE for short, has 6 main areas of work to try to help promote international web accessibility. And at a foundation layer, what we do is try to make sure that every technical standard coming through W3C can support accessibility. And at any given time, that those core technologies, there may be 60 or so standards in development just at a given time. So part of my group's job is to look across all of these standards at the design stage and as they're getting more developed and finalized, and see, did we do accessibility right in all of these? We also develop guidelines for accessible web content and browsers and media players. We develop resources for conformance evaluation because you want to know, did you achieve accessibility? We coordinate with research and development advanced projects to identify needs on an early basis. We look at standards harmonization because standards harmonization of an international technology such as the web is one of the best ways to accelerate progress on web accessibility. This is another reason I'm so happy that Hong Kong has adopted the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It helps actually with economies of scale to ensure the authoring tools and the evaluation tools and the training resources can all be shared between different developers in different countries. And we do a lot of work on education and outreach as well. We try to do all of our work in a multi-stakeholder way so that we're working with industry and disability organizations and government and research together at the table. And we also look for consensus solutions because the best solutions are solutions that all parties think need to happen, and then those can get carried worldwide. We use a community responsive process. Over the years, we've responded to thousands of public comments. Those help make our standards better. They help make our guidelines better. We welcome you to participate and let us know what you think isn't working well yet, and then we'll try to improve that in a future version. And we use an open process so that it is transparent. You can see what happens to your comments, for instance. So if you think of the web as a map of space, and you think of the foundation of that being the technologies, then part of the work that I talked about earlier, reviewing all of those standards, making sure they support accessibility, that's very important. And then you think about, well, the content is what, if that's the goal, that's what you want people to be able to get to. So we have guidelines, web content accessibility guidelines, to describe how to make that accessible. For the developers, they may be using an authoring tool, something that helps you produce content. And so we have guidelines for the authoring tools to help developers more easily develop accessible content. And they may be using evaluation tools. We have guidance for that. We also have guidance for the browsers, the media players, and the mobile devices so that the user interface to those can be accessible and so that they work well with assistive technologies such as screen readers, such as voice recognition, such as many other things that help people with different disabilities. So the guidelines that we have, the web content guidelines, were actually completed in 2008. They're stable for the foreseeable future. They've been co-endorsed by the International Standards Organization, and in some countries it may be easier to adopt them through that version. It's exactly the same version that W3C developed. But we keep it refreshed because the techniques and the understanding and the implementation examples are updated frequently. Every half year right now, we're adding new libraries of developer techniques so that these remain relevant to current technologies. The authoring tool accessibility guidelines and user agent accessibility guidelines are partly in implementation testing period right now and partly wrapping up the last call comments. So we hope perhaps in the coming year, those will be completed. WCAG 2 is an international standard. It has many supporting resources. We designed it so there would be a normative layer that stays stable with principles and guidelines and success criteria, and then the techniques and the educational materials that can be updated frequently. I've been talking somewhat abstractly, and I want to give some examples for a minute just on the kinds of provisions that are in the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. One of the principles is that information should be perceivable. You should be able to perceive the information even if you cannot see or even if you cannot hear. And so that means providing text alternatives for non-text content, captions and other alternatives for multimedia, create content that can be presented in multiple ways, because you never know what kind of device somebody is using when they're browsing the web, and you don't know what they need on their display. Make it easier for users to see and hear content, so that means you pay attention to the contrast between the foreground and the background of images, for instance. Another principle is that information should be operable. You should be able to use it from a keyboard, or if there's no keyboard because you have a mobile device, then from the different gestures or interaction with mobile device. You should be able to give users enough time to read and use content. Not everybody can respond at the same speed. Don't use content that causes seizures. If you have something that flashes on a web page, that could cause a problem for some users. Help users navigate and find content. If somebody has a memory problem or is very distracted, then if the website is organized better, they can learn it better, they can remember it better. Make information understandable. So text should be readable and understandable. Content should appear and operate in predictable ways, and you can even help users avoid and correct mistakes. If you've ever been filling out a form on the web and you make a mistake, can you go back? Can you have time to change that? You want to support people in those actions. And also, information should be robust. And by this we mean it should be compatible with advanced technologies, even if we don't know what those technologies are. And it should be compatible with assistive technologies that many people with disabilities may use. So we have different kinds of developer resources. There are many, many resources on our website. Again, those are freely available. For instance, there's a quick reference panel that we recommend developers to use, because they can pick what their favorite technologies are, and they say, okay, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, AA level, show me all the techniques that can be used for HTML and CSS, and maybe scripting, or maybe ARIA, which is Accessible Rich Internet Applications. We have a demo called our before and after demo, and the acronym for that is the BAD demo. So the BAD demo, a lot of developers love because it shows you a completely inaccessible website, annotated for all the accessibility mistakes in it. And then it shows you a completely accessible website. And they look the same, actually. But here's the report on the first website, and here's what was done to correct it. So it's a great teaching material. We have something called Easy Checks. And so you may be thinking, oh, this stuff is much too technical for me. I could never figure this out. But actually, you can look at the Easy Checks, and it will tell you how you check and see if the headers on your page are important, because that gives access to structured content, and it makes people with some disabilities be able to use a website better. Or it shows you how to check and see if your images are described in a way for somebody who can't see them. And it gives a lot of practical tips. We're introducing tutorials for a number of topics, such as page structure, menus, images, tables, forms. And you can look through these tutorials and just take a little bit of information or open it up, and it will give you a lot more information. So WADE continues to develop techniques for specific needs and technical specifications to address gaps. I'm going to be brief on this just to give you a little bit of idea, but I know that time is short. So one thing is in media, when we were talking with the web and TV group, they asked us, well, but what are the specific user needs? We don't understand. And so we developed a lot of scenarios for them. And then we developed a list of all the details that an engineer needs to think about when they're developing content for TV, and what things can help, such as described video, extended video, enhanced captions, clean audio. Do you know if you separate the layers in audio in a TV program, you can get better captioning of the voice layer from the background music? And so some of the TV broadcasters are very interested in learning about this. We have accessibility techniques under development for mobile accessibility, because we already have mobile covered between web content and user agent, but the information needs to be organized better. For cognitive accessibility, memory, intellectual disability, and so forth. For digital publishing accessibility techniques, we're delighted to have such an active accessibility group in publishing, and we'll be working with them on techniques. We have resources for evaluating web content accessibility. I'm going to go to things you can do in case there are people here who would like to do more to promote web accessibility. You can promote awareness of the need for accessibility, as I know the Hong Kong government is doing with their materials. You can help develop authorized translations in your own language, and we will coordinate with you to help that translation process. You can adopt web accessibility standards into policy, promote harmonization, uptake of international standards on accessibility, train developers on web accessibility, including mobile. You can help develop web accessibility evaluation services. That's an excellent business opportunity for people with disabilities. You can promote accountable accessibility. Who has accessibility claims, or they're trying to reach certain things? Are they getting feedback? And if there are accessibility problems, is there a dialogue to give progress? And then you're welcome to participate in Web Accessibility Initiative, and we're always looking for people to help support accessibility work. I wanted to thank you and to thank the people who helped sponsor our work, and also to thank Hong Kong Blind Union again, and Office of Government Information Technology, to CIO office, sorry, for bringing us here. So thank you very much.
Exactly 20 minutes according to my clock, okay? So this is the standard set for you. But since Judy has been here, we don't have a lot of opportunity of meeting her, so we'll treasure some question and answer time later on. So maybe hold back your questions. You still need to digest a lot of jargon there, you know. So next we'll invite Neil. Neil is friend, is our advocate. He coordinates the ICT committee of the region, one of the most active committee of the region. He himself works in the New Zealand Foundation of the Blind, Braille Library, or Library for the Blind. And so I would leave him to share with you. So if Neil, you can keep to 10 minutes, that would be good. If you can donate more minutes, that would be even better. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chow. Thank you, Chow. Yeah, no pressure. Do you know, I feel like a first-time performer coming after the Beatles, but we'll see how we go. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to speak here today. It really is an honour and a pleasure, and I'm delighted to be here. And technology really is everywhere, isn't it? It's in our computers, of course, but it's in our TVs, it's in our mobile telephones, it's in our washing machines and microwave ovens and home security systems. We face it when we check in at the airport, stay at a hotel, or when we go shopping. E-payment systems like the Octopus here in Hong Kong illustrate that even if we never, ever, ever touch a computer or a mobile phone in your life, you'll still be interacting with state-of-the-art technology on a daily basis. Thanks to technology, we have a chance, in some cases for the first time, to close the gap which has traditionally existed between us, the blind population, and the sighted population. We have a chance to end social isolation, to promote independence, and to give us control over our own affairs and our own lives. Whether that's looking after our finances, following our favourite sports teams, reading printed information, planning a trip, or finding our way around, this is what we can do thanks to technology. I often say that there's never been a better time to be blind. There you go, there's a statement for you. I often say there's never been a better time to be blind. The opportunities afforded to us, thanks to the rapid developments in technology, are quite literally life-changing. With this upsurge in access, however, comes a risk. One we all know about, the risk of inaccessibility. It would be a cruel and bitter blow if, having been given a taste of what we might have, all this was snatched away from us because the technology which has liberated us once again locked us out. It is our job to do what we can to protect the numerous gains we have made so far and to help prevent new barriers from coming up. All of us who are blind are used to seeing once accessible websites or smartphone apps suddenly, and for no good reason, becoming unusable. That's the sort of thing we need to guard against. We must recognise that by any measure you care to use, and in any country in our region and indeed in the world, disabled people tend to be on lower incomes than the population as a whole. There are many reasons for this, some of which are being discussed in other activities and initiatives of the WBU around employment and access to education. Low-cost accessibility is therefore particularly important to blind people in our region. There's no point having the most accessible website or the best mobile phone or the most accessible TV if the very people who will most benefit from those things can't actually use them. We need to be aware of the vicious circle of inaccessibility. As more and more life becomes locked into digital technology, people who cannot use or afford such technologies will be left further and further behind, and the problems of employment, education and isolation will be made greater. So, there's never been a better time to be blind, but there's never been a time when we're more vulnerable to being left behind if we don't act to ensure that our human rights to affordable, accessible and available technology are advocated for. All of this sets the context within which the ICT and Assistive Technology Committee of our region has begun its work. Our committee began to come together in the middle of last year, and it had its first meeting in October 2013. It currently has 5 members from around the region, and we're always on the lookout for more, so if you're interested, talk to me later. Our members include Tony Starkey from Australia, Moses Chu from Malaysia, Kevin Chow from right here in Hong Kong, Masafumi Nakani, who we call him Max, from Japan, and myself, Neil Jarvis, and I'm from New Zealand. And I have the privilege of chairing that committee. We have met 6 times in the past year, mostly via Skype. We have also worked between meetings via email. Lots of committees nowadays seem to work by email. Our first task was to determine the priorities which we want to focus on over the term of the current quadrennium. We used, as a starting template, the excellent priorities identified by the Global World Blind Union's Technology Working Group earlier in 2013. During the course of our discussions, we added a couple of others which we felt were particularly relevant to our region. We then decided to focus on just those items we felt we could make most headway on and which were of most immediate and relevance to the majority of blind people in the region. This does not mean that we regarded the other priorities as unimportant, far from it. You simply have to focus on where you can get most effect. So the committee agreed to work on 4 regional priorities. Firstly, to institute and consolidate access to mobile telecommunications through text-to-speech technology, and that would include the development of information of what's available. Secondly, to investigate and influence the regulatory framework for access to financial services and influence the design of core technologies that affect such lifestyle activities as travel, shopping, managing money and reading. Thirdly, to promote and support the development of access to low-cost or no-cost technologies. Technologies like NVDA, which you would have heard about yesterday, since it is clearly an important issue in this region. And lastly, to promote the adoption of internationally recognised standards when it comes to accessibility of websites, products and technology-based services provided throughout our region, aligning perfectly with Julie's work. Our first efforts so far have largely focused on the third of these priorities, which address the need for access to low-cost and no-cost technologies, and the need for information about such technologies. We figure that without this, everything else becomes less relevant to the majority of blind people in our region, and we would simply be duplicating the work already being done elsewhere, not least by our colleagues on the WBU's Global Technology Working Group. The priorities around access to mobile telecommunications, though, in many ways overlaps with the others. On the one hand, we want to be in a position to inform blind people in our region about what's accessible and what they can go out and learn more about. They can then make the choices that work best for them. On the other hand, we need to keep in mind the affordability factor. So of course, there's particular relevance in this region, mobile solutions which are of low cost or they're free. If people have access to those, they might also have a chance of using the facilities covered by the priority on accessible commerce, be that online or point-of-sale payments, since many of those interfaces use mobile devices. Many of you will know that the iPhone and Android devices have changed the game for accessibility with respect to mobile devices over the past 5 years. There's no question that these are wonderful devices, but they are typically expensive, often very expensive. The emergence of many lower-cost Android-based handsets is an exciting development, and while some blind people are not confident with the apparent complicated touchscreen systems that they come with, there are now several options on the market which are designed for blind touchscreen users who want a simpler interface. What's more, these are also low cost. I think of such products as Project Ray or the Blind Shell Initiative, just to name 2. These take the capability of devices and mainstream apps, parcel them up into a simpler package so users still have access to things like the phone, text messaging, GPS navigation, music, books, and so on. And if they feel restricted by those walled gardens, in most cases, they can just switch to the mainstream version of with the free screen reader and magnification products available on that platform. Many of us will argue that piggybacking onto mainstream devices is the best way because the choices that gives us is of most importance. It is important, though, to remember that not one size fits all, and different people need different solutions if they are truly going to be able to take advantage of what technology has to offer. Indeed, sometimes people want different solutions in different situations, so one size doesn't necessarily even fit one person. All this means, though, that the goal of low-cost accessibility, even to mobile devices, is that much closer. One of the issues discussed by our committee was the availability of synthesized speech in local languages. People in our region don't want to be told that they must use devices in English, or with an English synthesizer trying to make sense of, say, information in Thai. That just doesn't make sense. If e-accessibility is to be real in our region, that means our own regional languages and dialects. It is heartening to note that, for instance, on iOS devices, many of our regional languages are available, including English, Cantonese, Mandarin, Japanese, Indonesian, Korean, Thai, Portuguese and Spanish. Since these synthesizers are used on various platforms, including iOS, Android and Microsoft, there is every reason to expect that these will become available on a wide range of devices. We should also remember that even with the rise of mobile technology, and access to old-style computers is still a big player and will be for many, many years to come. We all know that access to adaptive technology, which makes computers usable by blind people, has traditionally been expensive, often in the region of hundreds, if not thousands of US dollars. Furthermore, even those prices become inflated by the time the product gets to many countries in our region. So we have the nonsensical situation of products costing the most in parts of the world that can least afford to buy them. Real accessibility cannot happen if people can't afford to buy the products which make devices accessible. So it is with pleasure that we acknowledge the superb achievement of the team which created and continues to develop NVDA, Non-Visual Desktop Access. As most of you will know, NVDA is a screen reader which gives access to Windows-based computers. It has fast become the screen reader of choice, not just for those who can't afford to buy JAWS or Windows, but even for many of those who can, but choose not to stay on that treadmill. WBU has praised these guys many times, and rightly so, and it was a pleasure to hear Michael present yesterday. Some people, though, prefer or need Braille access to their devices. Many deafblind people have no choice. It simply has to be Braille. Many others have a choice, but prefer Braille anyway. Too many, though, are locked out of this absolutely fabulous technology because of the sheer cost of electronic Braille devices. Typically, electronic Braille devices cost thousands, not even hundreds, but thousands of US dollars. Even in the developed countries of our region, that's a tough ask. So a number of blindness organisations around the world have come together to try to do something about that. They have formed a company called Transforming Braille and have designed the specifications for a simple, no-frills, but perfectly functional electronic Braille device. We hope that will come to market for just a few $100 rather than a few thousand. More importantly, we want this to be the push for the market that the market needs to start lowering the prices right across the board of all Braille displays. The committee is following this development with great interest, and we will be reporting back to you on it. With all this in mind, the committee has determined that one of our main tasks is to create an information resource which will point to available low-cost or no-cost technologies. All of the above information that I've talked about is useless if nobody knows about it, or if it isn't out there, if it isn't kept up to date. The committee is currently working on a resource pack which will provide links to hardware and software, sources of training, and anything else that we think would be relevant that people would want to know. As we move forward, we want to look at the practicalities and advantages of getting people online. If people have access to the equipment and the internet connections, social and professional isolations can be tackled. This should be part of every rehabilitation program offered by our blindness organisations. We need to think about how people get the necessary training and where they can get online in their community. And if we're going to do all of that, it is important that we promote accessible standards. Even more important that we do that in the way that Judy has talked about. There's no point getting people online if when they get there, they're frustrated by the online materials that they're trying to use. So, we support the work of organisations like W3C, the Data Consortium, the Roundtable on Information Access, and others all around the region. They are already producing guidelines and designing standards on accessibility. So what are we to conclude from all of this? Technology can and does enhance our independence, employability, educational and cultural opportunities. And it needs to be accessible from the ground up. To that end, we need standards which developers can follow and implement easily, and Judy talked about those earlier on. It needs to be affordable. Low cost and no cost are essential in our region. And that applies to adaptive technology as well as to the devices it runs on. It needs to be available. People need to know about all this stuff. So we need a maintained information resource which people can go to find out more and have signposts to tell them where they can go to. So those 3 A's are really important to us: accessibility, affordability, and availability. There's another 3A there. We need to get online and have access to online technologies, because that's going to be the key that liberates so many people. There needs to be accessible and easy to use training so that people can take advantage of what is there. And as a region, we need to support such initiatives. Technology is a vehicle. It isn't an end in itself. I'm mostly interested in all of this because of the social and economic potential it brings with it. You've heard today that our committee has ambitious objectives, and it does rely on the work of people who are already very busy. But we all believe in what we're embarked upon. If you watch this space, slowly and surely you'll start to see results coming from this committee. By nature, I'm optimistic. I think about how far we've come, even in the past 20 years. When I do that, I get excited. Now it's time to make sure that this progress is enjoyed by everyone throughout our region, regardless of their income level or national circumstances. It will be one of the means by which we liberate blind people and allow us to live the lives we choose. There's never been a better time to be blind. Support the 3A initiative.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's again exactly 20 minutes. Okay. So it's great. Thank you, Neil. Really. Now that NVDA has been mentioned several times, I might take the liberty of inviting Michael to stand, and because you met so many guests yesterday, but not today. We have new technology people here, so I would like you to be recognized for your effort in promoting a free screen reader, which is so important to the region, to the people in this region. My parents. So, you're a young person, you still have many years to work. Okay, lastly, we would like to invite Ms. Joey Lam, the Deputy Chief Government Chief Information Officer. So they have been the most helpful department in promoting web accessibility and information technology, strategy of information technology in Hong Kong. So it's really been a friend and supporter to our cause. So with that, I would like to invite Joey to share with us. Fair as before, 20 minutes.
Chanya, Judy, Neil, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very delighted to join you all here today at the ICT Symposium on e-accessibility and to share with you Hong Kong's experience in building a digitally inclusive society. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Hong Kong Blind Union for putting together this worthwhile platform for us to explore how we should leverage technology to enhance the quality of living for people with special needs. Hong Kong is a place where East meets West, where modernity meets traditions, where different ways of living flourish and converge to form a unique character of its own. We cherish diversity, freedom, and equality. With these core values being an integral part of our DNA, Hong Kong is always an accommodating place where different social sectors, the busy, the rich, the not so rich, the young, the old, various ethnic groups, and persons with special needs, they can all thrive and find opportunity for development. To me, technology is a magic wand. I am very much fascinated by the imagination and creativity of the Harry Potter novels. The witches and wizards in the novels can apparate. Well, maybe I can explain a little bit for those who are not Harry Potter fans. Apparate means to go without moving. They appear and vanish suddenly, and communicate with each other can over long distance. With a casual wave of magic wand, they can achieve a lot, illuminating a pitch-dark room, knowing things that are physically beyond, accomplishing tasks without being there, etc. and etc. These are exactly what modern-day mobile-enabled ICT can do. So we are all wizards and witches if we know ICT. It has opened up opportunities to facilitate, empower, and transform our way of life. It enhances efficiency, increases productivity, brings convenience to our daily life, facilitates continuous learning, and spurs innovation. In a nutshell, ICT is an enabler. I would venture to say this is even more so for persons with disabilities, despite their physical constraints. With ICT, they can deal with mundane daily chores with a click on the keyboard, anytime and anywhere, without the hassle to go around, thus helping them to live more independently in a smart way, saving the time for quality life, like staying connected with families and friends, pursuing personal interests, and so on. However, technology is a double-edged sword. While it can be a powerful enabler, it can also be a barrier, accentuating the gap between the haves and have-nots. For instance, visually impaired persons cannot read online content if websites or digital media are not developed with accessibility in mind. People beset with hearing difficulties are unable to fully understand videos without subtitles or the sign languages. They would miss out important information and cannot participate in today's information society. For the elderly and students from low-income backgrounds, they would be excluded from the digital world if we are not careful. Many seniors do not have the basic digital literacy and knowledge to benefit from the convenience and connectivity brought about by ICT. Staying away from the digital world often means seclusion from the mainstream society. For students, if they cannot afford internet connection and computers to do online learning at home, they would lag behind in the pursuit of education, which is the fundamental channel for them to move up in the social ladder. We need to forestall the digital divide. We should make ICT a bridge to connect everybody to today's information society. No one should be left behind. Indeed, Hong Kong is a mature digital economy with a world-class ICT infrastructure that supports stable, reliable, fast, and generally affordable internet connectivity. Our broadband penetration is among the highest in the world. For instance, our mobile penetration rate has already exceeded 240%, which means, including newborn babies, every one of us has 2.4 mobile devices ready to use. That is a lot, isn't it? Our average peak internet connection speed is the fastest worldwide. These accomplishments provide the necessary technological and social foundation for government to implement a wide range of digital inclusion initiatives. By leveraging ICT, we seek to empower various special need groups and help them improve their quality of life and integrate into society. Digital inclusion is a means to achieve social inclusion. So, we are playing with that again. We devise our digital inclusions around 4 A's, which Neil just said. Neil has 3 A's. Accessibility, affordability, and availability. And I have 4 A's, similar but half. Accessibility, affordability, accurate, and applications. First, accessibility. We have talked a lot about it, but now I would like to share Hong Kong's experience in how we champion e-accessibility. Online information should be accessible and clear to everybody, including persons with disabilities. In 2011, we put together a holistic web accessibility campaign to drive the adoption of web accessibility designs in the community. The campaign comprises 5 strategic thrusts: government setting an example, fostering community awareness, developing resources to facilitate implementation of web accessibility by all kinds of organizations, nurturing expertise, and encouraging adoption. Let me elaborate. It has all along been government's policy that all government websites should be accessible. In 2012, we made a step further by requiring all government websites to conform to W3C's latest Web Content Accessibility Guidelines Level AA standard. By now, most government departments have achieved it. For those who haven't, the reason why is that they are revamping their website to achieve this. We then make highly visible efforts to raise awareness among website owners and corporate executives of the importance and the benefits of web accessibility, highlighting that an accessible website would help business, not only help readers, but help business by optimizing their websites for search engines and widening their customer base. So it makes a lot of business sense to make your websites accessible. We have organized a series of seminars and workshops to impart the necessary skills and know-how to ICT practitioners in charge of website development projects and those who help build websites. We have also produced an array of guidelines and resources such as publications, website templates, best practices, training videos, as well as BAD bad, which are available through our, I'm very glad we have something similar to W3C, our Web for All, in one-stop information portal. To inculcate web accessibility as an integral part of the skill set and professional ethics of ICT practitioners, we invited tertiary institutions to include web accessibility in their ICT curriculum, and I'm very delighted that they all came back with very positive response. Last but not least, to encourage adoption, we organized an annual recognition scheme to help public and private organizations understand and meet web accessibility requirements by providing free assessment and advisory services to them. The scheme covers both websites and mobile applications, which are becoming increasingly popular nowadays. So, the second A, which is similar to Neil's, is affordability. Generally speaking, internet services charges in Hong Kong are very affordable, thanks to free market competition spawned by our fully liberalized telecommunications policy. This notwithstanding, families of limited means may still find such charges a financial burden. To address this, government launched the Gov Wi-Fi program to provide free Wi-Fi on some 480 government premises, including all public libraries, community halls, as well as leisure and cultural facilities. Members of the public and students can use the facilities there. Moreover, family and elderly service centers subvented by the government are also equipped with Wi-Fi and computer facilities for use by their service targets. Online learning. Online learning is increasingly prevalent, and students who don't have access to ICT equipment at home are at a disadvantage. To ensure that students from low-income families can undergo web-based learning at home on a par with the rest of their peers, the government grants a direct internet subsidy, access subsidy to them. At the same time, we have put in place an internet learning support program to help them procure broadband services and computer at discounted rates, as well as provide them with technical support and complementary training. Third, accolades. No matter it is ICT adoption or implementation of web accessibility design, change in behavior is necessary. To incentivize desirable change, we seek to encourage people with accolades through various award schemes. For example, in 2013, we implemented a Smart Elderly Award scheme to show appreciation to seniors who use ICT actively in their daily life. Some 2,000 seniors were awarded. In 2014, we put together a Smart Elderly IT Star Awards scheme to applaud selected seniors whose exemplary use of ICT has made a difference to themselves and others. 12 seniors were recognized as Smart Elderly IT Stars, and their stories were widely publicized. By the same token, to encourage adoption of web accessibility in the community, since 2013, we have implemented an annual web accessibility recognition scheme to laud enterprises and organizations for making their websites or mobile apps accessible. A wide range of websites and mobile apps spanning a spectrum of different sectors like transportation, media, banking, academia, commercial services, medical, and NGOs were given prominent recognition. We hope that the honor bestowed on them will encourage the others to follow suit and emulate. Fourth, applications. Development of mobile apps is gathering momentum in Hong Kong. However, given the small market for applications for special need groups, there is a case for government to assist social service organizations to develop innovative and practical applications to cater for them. Since 2012, we have provided funding support for the development of 12 mobile applications for different need groups, including autistic children, persons with disabilities, ethnic minorities, the elderly, etc. 7 of them are already available for free download. Another batch of new apps will be launched in early 2015. Thanks to the extraordinary work by advocates, researchers, investors, education, and technology users, we have witnessed tremendous progress in digital inclusion in Hong Kong. Our goal is to make our city a place where everyone can access information and reap benefit from technology. In empowering everyone through technology, we will make our society more inclusive, connected, and sustainable, thus realizing our vision of Smarter Hong Kong, Smarter Living, which is the overarching theme of our new digital strategy for Hong Kong. We will continue our work based on our 4A strategy to make technology an equalizing tool. Through digital inclusion, we bring everyone together towards social inclusion. Finally, I would like to congratulate the World Blind Union for successfully organizing its Asia-Pacific Midterm Regional General Assembly. I wish all of you a very fruitful exchange and our overseas visitor and an enjoyable stay in Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Joey, really for leading the OGCIO to have achieved so much, and there is so much more in the plan to come. So this morning, my particular thank to her is for donating 5 minutes to us for question time. So before doing that, I would like to also thank the simultaneous interpreters. So it is terribly difficult. I will not be able to translate things like authoring tools, but they managed to do it. So very well. Give them an applause. So let me open the floor for some question time before we go to coffee break. So anyone who, I granted this question to the volunteers who saw hands first and will grab them. So depends on Montaigne? Oh, okay. Since Judy mentioned Montaigne, so give the mic to Montaigne.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all friends, especially Judy, who we've been knowing for more than 10 years. Well, a very short but straightforward question is that how do you foresee that the WCAG would be able to keep up with the very fast pace of technology development? Especially right now, I would like to know whether it incorporates HTML5, which is rapidly being developed and used by the industry. And for the second question, I'd like to address that to Neil. And actually, I talked with Neil outside the meeting, but I'd like to share with the meeting. Since we're facing with the problem of affordability, not only accessibility, and I have to admit that iPhone is very accessible, and it embraces the principle of universal design better than any other mobile devices. But the affordability is an issue. On the other hand, we have seen a lot of Android-based, affordable Android-based telephones and tablets available. Has the committee any thought or any plan to engage into some dialogue with Google so that they will embrace the philosophy of seamless integration of the screen reading software in the Android rather than build the screen access or screen reader after the OS is already developed, which is too late. And that caused a lot of problems when it comes to Android accessibility. TalkBack is still behind Android. It's not seamlessly, it's not universally built into the Android.
Okay, thank you. Neil, Judy first and then Neil.
Yes, Senator Buntan, thank you for your question with regard to how the web content accessibility guidelines can keep pace with the speed of technologies as they advance. Three things. One is WCAG is technology neutral. It is designed to be forward compatible and to be flexibly supported by any web technology. So the principles, the guidelines, and success criteria can be applied to any web technology and is fully compatible with HTML5. Second thing is that we're continually refreshing the informative implementation support to give updated techniques for developers. Third thing is that we are already starting a planning process for the future, looking 5 to 10 years in the future. Actually, we're calling it Way 2020. We will probably be combining the web content, the user agent, and the authoring tool guidelines in a new way together and creating modular views in some ways. But I want to reassure people WCAG 2 is stable for the foreseeable future, but we do invite to hear feedback for what people may want with something much further down the road.
Thank you. Neil?
And thanks also for the question, Montian. Yes, this is something which we agree with you is of critical importance. It's the old adage that accessibility is much cheaper to implement if you do it as part of the design process rather than retrofit it afterwards. And many of us, or in our day jobs as well as being on the committee, are actually cultivating a relationship with Google precisely for the reasons that you identified. It isn't just with Android where there is ground to be made up, it's also in their other online apps, for example, Google Docs and Sheets and all those applications which are being used widely in collaborative situations such as classrooms and workplaces. So we are cultivating a relationship with Google, and I myself am planning to visit the accessibility team and others in the next few months. But I think this is something which all of us have to do, and the committee will be part of that process. Fully agree with you.
Thank you. Okay, any other persons? Peter Wong from Hong Kong. I would like to recognize him for the next question. By the way, he was the first blind person in Hong Kong to go into IT profession as a blind person, and he was later on employed by Microsoft in Seattle to join his enabling technology team. So, Peter, is your question?
Can you hear me? No? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can at least.
Yeah, my name is Peter Wong. As a person, a visually impaired person who's involved in accessibility technology and personally benefited by it, and I have just a little bit observation. And of course, first, very thankful that Hong Kong Blind Union and the World Blind Union being able to put this forum together. I think it's a group of people coming together who really want to do something together. Yeah, I describe it as an ecosystem, right? We're a very good ecosystem. I just want to point out one aspect that may not be talked about much this morning yet, but I think it's a very important part of the ecosystem, right? Just now we're talking about working with Google, right? There are many other companies, right? So actually, my observation is that actually right now, accessibility is actually a competitive advantage for many companies, right? That is a very, very important thing, right? Because we have law, we have advocacies and things like that. That's very good, right? But you gotta really point out to or help the business, right, corporations to understand the competitive advantage, right? And right now, in fact, I know I've talked to various companies recently that they actually look at accessibility as a competitive advantage, right? So in other words, when they build accessibility, they sell more, right? So that's very, very important. Yeah. So I think for us here in this group, we have a lot of advocates, technologists, consortium people, right? I think, who are we? We are the customers, right?
Yes.
So if we can clearly tell or let these companies know our needs, they love to hear from, because I worked at Microsoft before, right? So I mean, these companies want to hear from the users actually.
Yeah.
World Blind Union, Hong Kong Blind Union, Asia Pacific Blind Union. This is a very, very cool group, right?
Okay.
And they're talking. So myself as a user, for example, I think in technology right now, like the GPS, the two-dimensional use of a touch screen to use the web. Okay. It's actually breakthrough. So I just encourage the companies to.
Okay, thank you. Well, you have a chance to make these comments also during the workshop. So thank you. Any other questions? Then we can take them together. Teddy from the Philippines. Teddy, yes. I hear you every session, so very active supporter.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you to our guests. I would like to ask Neil, probably you can share, make some clarity about this.
Yeah.
This involves the platform, the OS of the iPhone and the Android. There is this dictation in the iOS. The Android also have voice input, and I'm actually using this please clarify. I had the opportunity to use Android for I think 6 months. I am using this voice input without being connected to the internet. But now I am using